Hello students, how you all are? I think you all are good. So let's start our next chapter, that is gravitation. So first of all, let's see what we have to study in this chapter. These are the key points I have mentioned. First we need to know what is gravitation, then Kepler's law, three laws of Kepler, then universal law of gravitation, force of gravitation on earth and on moon, acceleration due to gravity, free fall, mass and weight. All these things we have to study in this chapter. So let's start with gravitation. Movement or a tendency to move towards a center of gravity, as in the falling of bodies to the earth, is known as gravitation. What just give you an example. Why we stood on the floor only? Why we stand on the floor only? Why we stick to our floor in our houses only? This is due to gravitation. It is a tendency to move towards the center of the earth. This is gravitation. Now let's move for gravitational force. Gravitational force it is a type of force, but gravitation, it is a property or a tendency. So gravitational force, the force of attraction between any two particles in the universe, is called gravitation or gravitational force. Basically it is an attractional force. Example, moving of planet around the sun in universe, or falling of apple from tree toward earth. What happens? Why an apple always fall towards the earth? At that time the property is gravitation, it means gravity, but the force which is applied on it to fall that apple on the floor, on the earth, is gravitational force. See, in both the pictures, planets are moving around the sun. That is because of gravitation. The tendency is gravitation, but the force applied on it is gravitational force. Same is the case of apple. Now we'll move towards Kepler's law. Johannes Kepler gave the following three laws to explain the motion of a planet. How, why the planets move. The reason is given by Kepler. So his laws given by him are also named after him. Law of orbit. Each planet moves around the sun in an elliptical orbit with the sun at one of the foci of the orbit. This is the first law. This means that every planet has a fixed foci, and only in that particular orbit it moves. Another planet does not move in some other's focus. It will move around a particular elliptical orbit of its own foci, at a fixed foci we can say. For Earth, for Mars, for Jupiter, there are different focuses. According to that, the elliptical orbit is fixed and the planets move around those fixed orbits only. Next, move towards the second law, that is law of areas. Second law of areas says that the line joining the sun and planets sweeps out equal area and equal interval of time. It means that particular line which is joining the sun to the planet, it has equal area and equal interval of time. If we measure from any interval, any distance, it will always be the same. Example, let a planet moves from the position A, it is mentioned over here, to B in time t. Then it moves from position X to position Y in the same time t. Then according to Kepler's second law, the area of SAB will be equal to SXY. This means in equal intervals of time taken at any of the point, it will cover the same distance. Now we'll move towards the third law, that is law of period. The square of time taken by a planet A to complete a revolution around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of semi-major axis of the elliptical orbit. That is, time taken by the orbit square of it is directly proportional to the cube of semi-major axis of that elliptical orbit. That is, t square is directly proportional to r cube. If we'll take r cube to LHS only, what the answer will be to us? The resultant comes out to be, that is, t square upon r cube will be equal to constant, that is the square of time period, to the cube of the semi major x upon the r cube will gives us a constant. Now we'll move towards the universal law of gravitation. Now the universal law of gravitation. According to this law, the force of attraction between two particle or bodies is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between these particle of bodies. That is, if we take two bodies, the universal law of gravitation says that the force of attraction, that particular force of attraction will be directly proportional to the product of the masses of them, the product of the first object, the mass of the first object and the product of the mass of the second object upon the square of the distance. Suppose the distance is r, so the r square. Let us see it algebraically also. Let us see the relation between gravitation force between two bodies and the distance between them. We have taken two bodies A and B. Their masses is m1 and m2 respectively, and the distance between them is r. So therefore, according to this law, that is the law of gravitation, the force of attraction F or the force of gravitation between these bodies is directly proportional to product of masses, that is m1 and m2, divided by r square, that is the square of the distance between them. Product of the masses of the body, that is F, is directly proportional to m1 into m2 and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the bodies, that is F is inversely proportional to 1 upon r square. When we combine both these situations, what we will get? F is directly proportional to m1 into m2 upon r square. Since now we wanted to remove that proportionality sign, so we will take a constant, and that constant is capital G, which is known as universal gravitational constant. I hope you all have understood this. In the next class we will study next part.